We're less than a week away from AMD releasing not just Ryzen 3000, but the Navi GPUs. And with that, it's brought a ton of excitement about the advancements of this technology and what that means for us as consumers on the value front and how much we're paying for our performance. But it really does look like AMD has pulled it together and is giving us something that is exactly what we want and expect. So with the new generation upon us, I'm gonna cover the top 5 most exciting things about AMD's Ryzen 3000 and Navi GPU launch. Hey there, tech boys and girls. Welcome back. So I'm doing this video mainly because it breaks my heart when people are overpaying for parts or right now are buying Intel or Ryzen CPUs from this past generation, and the value and performance that's incoming is gonna be amazing. You need to save the money and go ahead and wait for this. But also, I am just really tired of explaining why this is so exciting and the huge benefit that this is looking like it's going to be giving all of us as, custom PC users or anybody that might want to switch out. The Ryzen 3000 series CPUs and their unbelievable price for the performance. Intel has dominated the entire CPU game over the past decade. However, a few years ago, AMD dropped their first generation of Ryzen CPUs, and these new Ryzens showed everyone what adding extra cores could really do for streaming and editing and just all your general computing needs. But the biggest part is that it was able to give this performance at a really reasonable cost, especially compared to Intel's very gaming-specific core counts and the demographic that they were going after, and thinking mainly just you only need 4 cores up to 8 threads. So for many of us who need overall performance for editing, production, and streaming, Ryzen has seemed like the very obvious choice. I mean, it's better non-gaming performance for less money, and all of them are overclockable to get that little bit of extra juice. But now we have Ryzen 3000 CPUs that are able to directly compare with Intel's gaming performance and far surpass on any workstation, editing, other needs. As we've seen in leaked benchmarks, the Ryzen 9 3900X is performing at or on par with Intel's 9900X. Which is crazy because the Intel 9900X is $1,000 and Ryzen's 9 3900X is only going to be $500. But with the new AMD Navi architecture, we're about to get the RX 5700 XT at $450, which is $50 less than the cheapest 2070, with a look that says, I'm a pretty dank boy. I don't know, I really like it. But it does look to be faster than the RTX 2070. And so it is gonna get a little confusing with Nvidia coming out with the Super 2070, but for right now, $50 less than the cheapest 2070s that at least you were able to find before, and faster. So I mean, that's a heck of a value. Now looking at the raw performance, it doesn't look like all that big of an increase and seems to be slotted, like I said, right in between Nvidia's offerings. But unlike RTX, which was supposed to be this big new great technology and that we had to pay extra for to get the more premium cards, the PCI Gen 4 slots that are going to be utilized by the RX 5700s and probably the ones coming out after that are going to be using that new twice as fast slot. And we're about to get into that. But what that does is give us a lot more realistic that value later on. Instead of saying we're going to make everything RTX and ray traced and it's going to be amazing, this is the next step for really most computer components, the SSDs and stuff. So this is a lot more reasonable of an expectation that you will get more of that value later on, and it's giving you the raw performance that the RTX was lacking for the price. Next is scaring Intel and Nvidia to up their game or really risk getting left in the dust. Now, obviously, Nvidia is a lot less likely to have this happen to them. The graphics card world has been dominated by them for a very long time. Well, really all the time. Maybe a long time ago it wasn't. Like I said, the RX 5700 XT does look like it's got the performance, just raw performance down, and we might have it be quite a bit faster with the new PCIe slot. So, especially Nvidia, that's something to keep their eye on. Right now, they're not, AMD's not slotted to really take over, and they're not hitting all those different categories, and they don't have the lower end stuff. but it shouldn't be too long before they figure it out. You know, it's not something they can sit back and say, we're gonna keep pumping out really expensive cards and that's just gonna be fine and people are gonna be okay with it, especially if AMD is already starting to bring us back down. And right after AMD did their big release and they did, you know, got all this hype and publicity for the new releases, Nvidia comes out and says, we're gonna make this RTX Super line of cards. And what they are is they're scaled back, you know, like a 2080 is gonna be scaled back and that's turned into the RTX 2070. No overclocking, it's slowed down, they might take some stuff out. I don't have the specifics in front of me. I just don't quite understand it. It's like Nvidia either isn't able to make any of these cards at a lower cost other than, well, scaling those back. It just seems strange. It doesn't seem like they understand what people want, which is a really great card at a cheaper price. You know, we want stuff that's in the $200 range that's worth a crap. My solution would be to lower the prices. Obviously they couldn't figure out how to make like the RTX 2070 or 2060, you know, much cheaper, but they really need to find a way to make it, I guess, more efficient and come up with a way to make that a lot better. To Intel, it's been really disappointing seeing them lately. They really feel like they've gotten complacent. They were on top, just dominating for, you know, over 10 years, I'd say, around that. And for the longest time, they just said the normal consumer wants 4 cores. That's all they need. That's all they want. You know, maybe 8 threads on our special, you know, i7, you know, just like our top of the line will do that. And they just kept releasing these processors and they didn't really get much faster. And that's where the issue comes in from, you know, when they started, say, i7, you know, and as they started moving up, like the 4790K, which was an amazing processor, things didn't get much faster. You compare that to like a 7700K and it's pretty close. Like the 67 to 77, it's not really much of a difference. Now the 8700K, that was a big step. I am a big fan of that CPU. Great performance. They finally went up to 6 core, 12 thread, like great. Consumers can get some great stuff out of it and they rode that for a long time. But just look, they moved up for the next generation. They did the 7900K. They did 8 cores, which is great. You know, let's go from 6 to 8, no big deal. 8 threads, so they cut out all the threads. So it's better for gaming than the 8700K, but worse at everything else. And that's for an upgrade paying whatever, $30, $40 more for the 8700K being out. I would get the 8700K every time if I had to make that decision. So then to get the real performance in this newest generation, you have to get the 9900K and it's only $500. Everyone has that and you pretty much need the new Z390 board. No big deal. They're you know, starting, you can get an okay one for 130. Psh. Now let's throw Ryzen 3000 into the mix and see how that does for Intel. They were already starting to, you know, level out the playing field. Now we put that in there and the Ryzen 3000 is looking like it's actually at least on par gaming performance wise per core, which is insane because we already knew it was going to be better in the multi-threaded. Well, it looks like it's going to be insanely more in the multi-threaded, and the 9900 is getting its butt kicked, and that was Intel's like, hey, this is our jam, this is our good thing. So anyway, I think that Intel's going to get left in the red dust. Count it. I'm not going to say too much on the fourth one, which is the PCI Express Gen 4. Just a general overview. This is the slot that your GPU plugs in. So if you have any sort of modern motherboard, it's more than likely going to be Gen 3. And I mean, back 5 years, we're looking at Gen 3 PCIe. So we've been dealing with this a while, but our new X570 boards for the Ryzen 3000 are going to have this new, well, it's not new, but finally implemented Gen 4. And so basically every generation, the speeds double. The speed that slot can send the information from, whether it's an SSD or a GPU, that information goes twice as fast now from the last generation. And don't worry if you do end up moving up, everything that was Gen 3 is also compatible with Gen 4. So that's an easy mix, just throw it over, it's gonna work fine. I don't know why you would right now. It's pretty darn expensive. That's the big downside is, you know, you're gonna, to get an okay, like medium level X570 board, it's gonna be like $250. Not looking forward to that, but I am gonna get it. But what this really adds is the potential for graphics cards and especially SSDs to slot into there and have the potential to run way faster. Now, it's gonna take some time as companies and developers get in there and start tinkering and trying to figure out how they can push the GPU or the SSD to those the speed maximums. But they're already working on it. I don't foresee it taking all that long. The performance is just gonna skyrocket, and that's what we all want. We really do want everything to get faster, because that ultimately means we won't have to spend as much and we can maybe even get the older stuff. And if you're still watching this, thank you. Say something to me in the comments and I will say something back to you. If you remember back to the first generation of Ryzen CPUs, the improvement over AMD's previous generation, which was the FX, is huge. It's just, they took such an amazing step forward. They were already doing a lot of cores, but they finally found the architecture to make them all mesh together and really kind of marry that performance with the value. So whenever we had Gen 1 Ryzen, it was great, we loved it, it was perfect. And then, a year, they came out with like the 2600X and the 2700X, which are huge right now. And those were such a big improvement over the one before in just a year. And it was because they had the time and they saw kind of the feedback, and everything worked together to make an upgrade again. So really, it's just step by step, and we really can look forward to that for the Ryzen 3000 and the Navi. Maybe not GPUs as much, but certainly with CPUs, AMD has this track record of being able to take that first gen and learn from it and keep moving up. Now, I know that it seems like I'm just this huge AMD fanboy and that I hate Intel and Nvidia. And part of that's true. I am a big AMD fanboy. I've loved it ever since Ryzen. I was hooked. I love you guys. Oh, goodness. But the part about hating Intel and Nvidia, it is not true. I have always had Nvidia graphics cards at the core of my systems. I still do. And Intel, I did them for years. Up until Ryzen, I was all Intel. It was great until I started noticing those problems. As I talked about, these companies pushing each other forward in development, I want them all to succeed. I want to see innovation for innovation's sake. It's so awesome. Look how excited we all are about Ryzen 3000, because it is just so cool to see, man, things are gonna get faster. So that's just my thoughts. That's my list, and I feel very strongly about it. Tell me why you're excited about Ryzen 3000 Navi, or tell me why you're not excited. And I hope that you learned something. I hope you got something valuable out of this. That's ultimately what I want, is for people to say this was good and I enjoyed learning, or I needed to find something out. And there you go. You got it. You're welcome. I myself am getting ready to hit this launch hard. I'm gonna sand and paint my Corsair 900D case to have that nice and ready, and got the water loop. Everything's gonna be ready to go. I'm gonna get one of those super expensive, nice Gigabyte Aorus. I think Aorus, we'll see. The X570 board, and then I'm getting the 3900X, the 3700X, and the 3600 to do all my testing and to play with and to make videos on. So that's gonna be super exciting. Oh, and then I'm getting the RX 570X. 570. The RX 5700 XT will also be a part of that. So it's gonna be so much fun stuff coming up in a week or so. I'm gonna try and pump those out as fast as possible. I'm gonna do stuff beforehand to get it ready. A lot of fun builds, gonna do all the fun stuff. So rest assured, it's gonna be a lot of fun. And love you. If you want to talk to my face, add me on Facebook and Twitter, join my Discord and come chat, and check out my other dankalicious videos. Holla!